This is the Rising Goddess Podcast, and I'm your host, Michelle Torrance. This is a space where when we start diving deep, we're talking spiritual, mental, and physical. We're getting real and connecting with ourselves and others in the most intimate ways. We'll be talking all things sacred sexual, relationship building, womb healing, connection, and connecting with and through our bodies, how to use our sexual and sensual energies to create, manifest, and heal our lives in our individual and collective ancient feminine lines, while intertwining our healing and connection with the divine masculine. We'll learn from amazing humans who take time and share their wisdom and sacred healing magic. Rising humans who are here in this world to be healers, teachers, guides, priestesses, warriors, shamans, and all divine sisters and brothers in rising. We'll get witchy, sassy, sexy, and saucy, talking all things that align us with our true nature and authentic selves, creating a community of divine feminine and masculine rising to be a massive part in this shift of world healing. So grab some green juice, light some cannabis, get your blankets, or sit by the fire. Let's rise up together. Catch you on the inside, dolls. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rising Goddess Radio. Today, we are talking to Lauren Lavender Love Roberts, and we're having a fantastic time. We're talking about the moon. We're talking about the witch wound. We're talking about menstruation magic. These are all things Rising Goddess. So sit back, enjoy, or pay attention and drive. But whatever you do, let's have a good time. So if you're not familiar with the Lauren Lavender, Lauren is a feminine empowerment coach. She's a catalyst for personal ritual and the founder of Womb Tree Alchemy and the Womb Tree Alchemy Sisterhood, which is an empowerment community and platform focused on guiding women home to their most authentic and magical versions of themselves. Lauren works with the moon and feminine archetypes to help her clients connect with the powerful rhythm that they have always possessed. Recently, she has centered her work around healing the witch wound, an energetic blockage that prevents many women from stepping up to embody their fullest potential and highest soul expression. Lauren believes that each of us have a unique soul purpose, and she is dedicated to empowering the women she works with to connect with that purpose and express their magic in this world. Yes, she is all things Rising Goddess, and we are having such a great time on this episode. So enjoy. Come over onto the Rising Goddess Radio Facebook page. Come join the Rising Goddess group on Facebook, and let's continue this conversation and dive deeper into even more of it. This is all things Rising Goddess. So enjoy. Have a fantastic time listening to us. Make sure you download and you are rating and reviewing us so we can continue to keep providing you amazing content. And yes, I will catch you on the inside. Later. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rising Goddess Radio. Today, you've heard my intro that I tacked on here, but today I'm so excited we get to talk with Lauren. I just call her Lavender. That just makes my heart smile. So, but we have her on the show with us today. And today's episode, we are really going to be diving deep into the witch wound. And this is something that, oh gosh, you guys know I geek out on all the time. And I know that Lauren is absolutely just full on immersed in helping other witches rise up. So we'll talk that, we'll talk moon, we'll talk cycles, we'll talk all the fun stuff that we typically talk about at the Rising Goddess. So welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Thanks for having me. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yes. So before we get started, there is one question I love asking all of my guests. And that question is, what do you love about being a human right now in this time and space?
That is a phenomenal question. Well, right now, in this very moment, I love that I get to watch this oak tree outside of my apartment window shift. When I moved in, it was like absolutely naked, and then I got to watch the little leaves burst, and now there are acorns that the squirrels are chucking on the ground, and I know here before too long the colors are going to be magnificent. I'm also really grateful to be in a moment in history when I can connect with women all over the world, um, just like that. Social media is really powerful like that. And I'm grateful to be here in this moment for all of those things.
I love that. Your energy just instantly makes me feel like I'm wrapped up in like one of those amazing velvet blankets.
Mm.
And I'm just, first of all of listeners out there, of course, we'll get Lauren's stuff for you to follow her, but just to it's just your energy. We met in a mutual friends group, and as soon as you commented, you were like, "Hey, I live there too." I was like, tears rolling down, and we still haven't gotten together locally, which we're going to. I'm making it a priority to do this, but just the energy that just came through social media was really authentic, really real, really honest, really aligned with the healing that's happening right now.
Mm.
So I just wanted to touch on that. So let's just go in and let's talk. Let me ask, who was Lauren when you were a young child? And what experience happened, if an experience happened, that shifted your paradigm, maybe blew your mind, maybe a deconstruction into a reconstruction? But what happened to bring us to the lavender we're talking to today?
Mm. Well, it's been like a long, I'm 28 and I feel like I've kind of been asking these questions, these big questions about like, what is my purpose? What am I here for? Like, what is the meaning of life? I've been asking these questions since really I can remember. So to ask like for an event, I don't think I could pinpoint it because I feel like it was pre-birth even.
Wonderful.
um,
I
but
love that.
I feel like kind of one of the moments I always like recall back to is when I was living in San Francisco in college with um, a bunch of my girlfriends. Like we were in one house and then like 5 houses down were our other best friends. And so like at any given time there was just like 10 plus women like congregating in one of our homes. And it really, I think I had grown up very independent. I was a swimmer, so I was kind of in my head, it was solo sport growing up. And I hadn't really had a lot of like close feminine relationships. And I think that I still struggle with that a little bit, which is funny because my work is like so immersed in the feminine and working with women.
Well, we do
But
teach what we need the most in our lives, so
yeah, exactly.
keep going, sister.
Um, and so living in San Francisco and like having full moon circles with these women that I was, and we at that point we were just like having dinner and like talking about the moon and like playing with tarot cards and just having, really just a good time exploring what it meant to be women and like, playing with our intuitions and then ironically, I moved into a van with a man. And in one summer, I lived underneath the stars essentially for
Mm,
the whole summer. We were playing gongs at music festivals, and really, like I was able to tune. It was beyond just like full moon and new moon at that point. I was
yeah.
able to like see how the cycles were really affecting me. I was able to see how it affected my ability to interact with other people.
Hmm.
And really, for the first time, I was like just face to face with my own cyclic nature. And that was in like 2012. So for the last 6 years, I've been like really immersed in, what it means to be cyclic, what it means to be a woman, how to be like a sovereign, independent woman while in a committed relationship to a man who's also learning to be a sovereign individual, man. It's really interesting. But yeah, here I am, always interested in the occult, always interested in the moon, always, you know, curious about death and what's on the other side and so yeah, it's been a lifelong curiosity that has kind of unfolded perfectly, of course.
I love it. That those words, a long time curiosity that is unfolded perfectly. That just is fantastic. And the word that I love the most is curious when you talk about that. I think so many people are afraid to get curious about this. I think there's so much conditions, there's collective conditioning that has happened for thousands of years. So it's not just our generations that we're seeing right now, here in this world. This has been conditioning that has happened for so long. And um, I'd love to dive into that. I feel like let's segue right into that, because I'm sure that there's many people out there, a lot of the women in my community and sisterhood and who follow through, they are very curious about the moon. They're very curious about their cycles. We talk about it very in depth in the Rising Goddess group. We uh, they have this hunger for it. So what do you think is the biggest or the most thing that is stopping these women? What do you think is the biggest fear? What do you think is the number one, or maybe in the top three, conditions or beliefs that we have as women that is keeping us from coming out of our witch closet or rising up into our witchy gaudiness? I mean, everything.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think that one of the biggest things, right, is fear of like being seen in our full power. Often when our power is expressed through anger or ecstatic joy or sadness, when we express our capacity to feel, the world kind of shudders, right? When women lose their shit a little bit, people kind of like panic, and they get scared because it's powerful, right? We have a lot of power within our bodies, a lot of power within our capacity to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we've been shamed into not really expressing ourselves fully. And I think that when we start to tap into things like the moon, when we start to tap into our intuition, when we start to like sink into this like inherent magic that we have, it becomes more difficult to keep those emotions like in the box. It
Yes.
becomes more difficult to hide. And so it's easier if I just like ignore those things. If I don't sink into my intuition, if I just like turn that off, then I can just fit into everybody else's system more, uh, like it's more palatable, right?
Yes.
To like fit in with everyone. I talk about this dichotomy between being the nice girl and the kind woman, right?
Mm.
Nice is like pleasurable or pleasant, palatable, enjoyable. These are words that are like that also mean nice, right? But that's not the same as kind. That's not the same as being authentic.
Yes.
And we've been so conditioned to believe that being nice and being enjoyable and being seen as those things is more important than being authentic, being in your power, and really like living out your life's purpose. Like, it's not living your life's purpose generally means shaking shit up for the collective.
Yes.
Like that's what we're here for. We're all here to shake things up in our own way.
Mm-hmm.
And this conditioning to be nice
Mm.
is preventing us from doing that, because it's not nice to shake things up for people. Like, none of us like to be uncomfortable. And I think that women have always been, traditionally in the communities have always been the cyclic ones, right? We're not biologically, we're always changing, but sort of, I feel like women have always understood that things have to shift, and we've been kind of scrubbed of that, and like we're expected now to be just on this straight and narrow forward moving path. And it's just like, we gotta reclaim that.
I love that word, reclaim. Um, that makes, and I want, it just kind of activated a thought process though of reclaiming in words. The word witch, I think women are so afraid to even just use it, and some, they only use it in a negative term. We've only been conditioned to believe that witches are mean and dark and angry all the time, and
Have green skin.
have great, right, they melt when they have water thrown on them, like,
Yeah.
all of these things. And I mean, I believe Glinda obviously came through, and that was almost a little bit of a shift in the ideas and beliefs as to what a witch could actually be. But let me ask you, when you, as you started coming into your, I guess you've been kind of through it your whole life, but as you started to identify
Mhm.
as a witch, did you feel yourself go through beliefs and conditions? Did you feel yourself hitting all of those walls and those fears and those doubts and all of that when you started to identify as that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I still come up against it. I just recently really started sharing super publicly about this. You know, a lot of my work has been kind of behind closed doors. I'm really lucky to have a super powerful and just wonderful Facebook group where I can speak really freely there. I am lucky to have, I would say, like a pretty supportive community. But I mean, I'm not going to lie, when I'm on my live and talking about the witch wound and talking about, you know, being an empowered woman, and I see like on, you know, like my religious aunt pops on, or my, you know, whatever family hops on, or people I've known in high school, like I still get this fear of like, am I going to be judged? For a long time, the fear was like, am I going to be silenced? Like that was a lot for a long, and I didn't know where that fear was coming from. And as I've explored the witch wound, and as I've kind of learned about my own like past lives and ancestral lineage of being silenced, women being silenced, it made a lot of sense. Like that's why I'm scared of that. I feel very lucky in my own life that my parents were pretty supportive of like me exploring my own path. I mean, my mom was pretty nervous when I started like bringing home witch books. You know, I think the whole Harry Potter craze actually made it more acceptable.
I
Um,
think so too. I
yeah,
think so too. I think it definitely led into it led the fun part, the magic fun part of it come through, and I think
mm,
that helped. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I just wanted
no,
to interject with that for sure.
yeah, it actually brings me to a point that I was just talking about recently in my Facebook group, is how I'm kind of grateful that like being a witch is trendy, right? I think it's kind of typical for people whenever like a subculture becomes trendy, it's like irritating for that subculture. It's like, oh, come on, this has been ours forever and now you're making it popular. But I'm really grateful because I feel like it's given us a platform to speak on things that have always been important to us. And like, come on, feminine empowerment being trendy, like I'm okay with that. You know,
Yeah,
like I'm,
absolutely. Well, and I think that, I mean, to call it trendy, I think is really, for me, I feel like that tends to move from an ego standpoint because people are waking up to their truth. So we would want to support their waking. We would want to encourage that. That's that. I mean, we can go into a whole nother topic on that some other day. But I fully believe for sure, like, um, women empowerment, feminine empowerment, and even not just women in general. I mean, I think women empowerment is so important, but I think the feminine empowerment and rising within our male species and male humans out there to help shift the toxic masculine and start to engulf and heal that. I think it's so important. And yeah, I feel like I totally just completely interrupted you there, but you like lit my
no,
fire. It was fantastic.
yeah. No, and I 100% agree with you. It's interesting. Like I said, I always had closer relationships with men in my life, or like, you know, when I was younger, like I had more guy friends than girlfriends. And I think that kind of got me into some trouble with women, you know, like women don't like women who are friends with men typically. And so that was kind of something I ran into. And what you just what you were just saying about feeling feeling like we can just reclaim these words, reclaim our magic, and reclaim this sisterhood is so it lights me up too. And it's funny that like I used to have this like relationship with women and I was so close with men, and now I'm working with women and I often find myself like being like, don't forget to include like the other population. Like there's a whole bunch of people who don't identify as women, and like they can benefit from this work as well. And so I've just found that the feminine is kind of like my entry, like the women is my entry point, into helping the world heal their feminine.
Oh,
That's
you
kind of
you
where I'm
just
at.
I got it. It's like I'm like inside. I'm like yes, because I was just talking to my best friend Claire about this, and I was telling her that it's really that it's utilizing our geeking out on the feminine, right, and connecting with the women and helping the women, rise through and heal through all of this, but reaching our men and our children through the women. And I love that that's really what you're doing with that, and it really is a powerful thing. And I think that really women are so powerful, and the fear of that power can be turned into excitement and magic.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, how do you, if you do you come up, let me ask you, do you, when you said that you sometimes you still kind of feel a little apprehensive when you're lives and you're talking about the witch wound, when you come up on a fear like that, how do you shift it? How do you turn yourself from feeling that fear? Do you shift? Do you feel through it? How do you work through into turning that and transmuting that energy for your service?
Yeah. So I would say that the first thing that I'm coming up again, like that my first just like most practical reminder is like there are laws that prevent me from being silenced, right?
Yes.
Of course, we see Facebook monitoring people, we see shaming, we see all sorts of like horrible comments on Facebook, and I think that's like almost just as bad as being having your stuff taken down. But it's like the fear of being like actually physically silenced. I'm mostly protected from that, specifically as a white woman, right? Protected from that.
Right, right.
And so
White privilege, acceptance, and recognition number one.
yeah. So part of me remembers that I have these privileges of being protected, and so that I need to speak up.
Mm.
And I have a duty to speak up and to share this wisdom. The other thing that really just gets me is back in January, I was taking this course with my friend Kelly, and we were doing a crown chakra meditation. And I like had this vision of being in this like big crop circle with like woven braids of grass down on the ground, and we were all there together. There was just like tons of women that I've like just seen passing on the street, just like so many familiar faces. And for a moment I was like, oh, we're not going to be stopped this time. Like we're here for a reason. We're not going to be stopped. And for like a week after that vision, I was like, we're here, like the whole world is aligned for us to make this shift, and like we're not going to be stopped this time. And then like this little voice in my head said like, but what if you are going to be like, what if you still are stopped? Are you
Right,
still going to show up?
right. Such a powerful
And it
question.
was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like, excuse my language, but like,
Oh, you can.
yes. Like,
Fuck.
yes. Yes, I'm still showing up. My soul's purpose is to show up and do this work.
Mm.
And if I'm persecuted for it, then I am.
What does
But
showing up look like for you?
going live, talking about it, sharing my stories, empowering other women to be present with their authenticity and to live in alignment with that truth, right? I think for generations, women have been putting aside what they want for to fit in with society. And I had this beautiful realization recently of like how much my mother gave up for me to have the life that I have. And I'm just so grateful for her. Shout out, mom, you're the best.
Mm.
But yeah, we like showing up for me means like constantly checking in with that soul purpose, with that big why,
Mm.
and making sure that I'm like constantly leaning into that anchor, constantly following that thread, that's guiding me back to what it is that I'm here to do. And like I'm sure that I have lots more lessons to learn along the way,
That's the
constantly
whole
learning.
fun, right? Of this
Yeah,
whole experience down here, right?
totally.
Yeah.
But just yeah, constantly checking in with that soul purpose and making sure that I'm taking steps, even if they're tiny steps, every single day to be, embody that more authentically in this life.
Yes, I love that. I think a lot of people, or I think I find myself when I speak with a lot of clients and a lot of women and in the group and everything, that the word embody, I'm really big on words if you haven't noticed that. But the word embodiment and embody something, I feel like people are really starting to kind of get the concept of that now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of an exciting thing to watch when you see somebody fully embody. And even as we fully embody ourselves, I mean, just yesterday, I fully embodied the next level being of my existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I've got this whole new playing field, that I get to play on, and then I get to embody each of those different things. And that means like mentally, physically, spiritually, energetically, fully immersing into the experience of that. Um, I love that. How do you set yourself? Well, let me rephrase this. How do you, or what does getting into alignment look like for you?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's many different ways because there's so many different ways for many people. But what is your go to? Like if you have like an emergency list or something, what's
Mm-hmm.
your go to for getting into alignment?
Mm. If I have access to getting my feet in the dirt
Mm,
or in like a natural substrate of some sort, grass, soil, that water, natural sources of water, like the best.
mm,
Um, I live on the third floor of an apartment building, so
mhm,
sometimes it's like, okay, do I go down 4 flights of stairs to earth myself, or do I have another tool? And so I use some basically like a golden cord meditation where
mm,
I just envision from the top of my head a golden cord coming down through my body, going down through my seat and all the way through through the apartments below me, through the foundation into the earth, and just use that
mm,
visualization of that cord to keep me grounded.
mm,
And when I'm in that grounded space, it's much more easy for me to see with clarity.
mm,
The other powerful tool that I love, specifically that I find this when I'm expressing and I'm trying to really stay in alignment with what I'm speaking and what I'm sharing, is I'm a very cerebral person, and it's very common for me when I'm speaking or when I'm trying to make a point or something, that my energy gets really caught up in my throat and in my head, and I
mm,
like feel myself spinning around my words. Or if I feel like I'm being attacked, my
mm,
energy will drop down into the pit of my stomach, and I just feel like almost sick and unable to stand my ground.
mm,
And so what I do is I focus on pulling that energy back into my core, into my heart,
mm,
and just speaking from that heart center, speaking from that core space within me. Because that's, like this, that our heart is where above and below, like our physical world and our spirit world are alchemizing, right?
mhm.
And so if I can speak from that place, if I can be centered in that place in my body, then I know that I'm going to be in deeper alignment than if I'm spinning all up in my head or like stuck down in the pit of my stomach.
I love all of that. And I think there's so many ways that you can get in alignment. I think there's this perception out there that you have to go to like a yoga class, or you have to like meditate for an hour and a half, or you have to, chant for 3 hours, whatever. But it can be such, I mean, you can do that if you want to. I mean, absolutely. But, um, but to align yourself and be able to do some of the techniques that Lavender said, or be able to align yourself quickly, but without judgment, without criticism, without this need for perfectionism, because then you're not even aligning yourself, you're still being led by your ego. But aligning yourself and grounding yourself into earth and into nature is really so important. And she mentioned water. Water is, natural sources of water are really wonderful things. I mean, even a shower, if you can't get out to the ocean, if you can't get to a creek, that really helps align some things and just kind of wash things away. You brought up earlier that you just recently really recognized um, things that your mother did to allow you to live this life that you're living now. And that brings up questions on, the mother wound traveling through. And I think the mother wound is obviously, it's more than just issues with our mother. I mean, it is the pain of being a woman through the patriarchal society and conditioning beliefs, but it is transferred through our mothers, and so therefore that pain is coming through, and we tend to have those toxic relationships with our mothers. Did you have a toxic relationship with your mother at all, or was it a quote unquote normal type of relationship? And this was just kind of an awareness of some of the things that happened when you were younger that you can see back now and be like, oh, wow, that's fantastic and all that.
I would say that there were parts of our relationship that were toxic and still are. But I've come a long way in accepting her. And she's done everything she can to accept me, and she's still growing. And it's, really phenomenal to watch her accept me being very different than what she thought I was going to be. But yeah, the mother wound is, I think, whether or not we have toxic relationships with our parents, are even those of us who had amazing parents still can carry this wound because society projects mothers as being the perfect answer to all of your problems as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And no one person can be that for everyone, right? One person can't be the answer to everything. And so mothers are kind of put on this like unimaginable pedestal and unattainable.
Right.
And so they're just set up for failure, I think, and not that mothers are inherently failing. That's not what I mean to say, but that like it's unrealistic what the expectations are put on by them, right? Where we're filled with images of fairy godmothers and like fairies that can answer wishes and that sort of thing. And like that's just not the reality of the world we live in. And although there are fairies who can answer wishes, but like not every mom has access to that, especially when they're learning how to be a human themselves.
Yes.
I think I remember when I realized that that I was like my parents' peer. Like I remember at one point when I was like in my early 20s, like I remember thinking like, whoa, like they're older than me, but like I pay my bills and they pay their bills, and like we're on the same page as far as like the
grand society of adulthood.
Right. And I realized like, whoa, and like I don't know all the answers to everything. And like I just realized that I had very unrealistic expectations of my parents as a child. And there definitely are some toxic things that need to be healed and that are being healed. When I think about just going back to the witch wound and how the mother wound is connected there is like, I think about, my mom's favorite holiday is always has been Halloween and autumn. She knows the name of every flowering plant on the West Coast. She loves the moon. She loves the concept of a witch, but would never call herself one, and like, I'm realizing like she is a suppressed witch. She has like put up all of these walls to keep her power hidden. So, gosh, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but like, so that I can see the consequence of that, so that I could grow up seeing the consequence of being so stifled. And, it was a lesson, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Seeing someone who you love not be the person that you know that they can be, because there are lessons to be learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful for her and for all of the women for thousands of years who have cut themselves off from their power so that we could be here right now to like learn those hard lessons.
Right. And bring that power back. I just love your heart so much. I'm holding space with you and for you right now with this particular part of your life and journey, and for your mom as well. And, that was all just so wonderful and beautiful. And, let's get into, you brought up the moon again. I mean, you and I both could just talk for hours and hours on the moon. And
Mhm.
she's such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sister to us, mother to us, goddess to us, um, part of us. What is your favorite part of the moon cycle and why?
Mm, this question comes up all the time, and I'm always like, what? My
All
favorite?
of it.
I was born under the new moon, and I really connect with that phase as far as like being a reset point and
Mm,
being a check-in point. I really am like deeply connected with the new moon. I mean, my whole existence in this life began on that new moon, so I feel very anchored there. Recently, the waning moon, or the waxing moon rather, has been like my best friend, because I am like recently full-time self-employed entrepreneur, and I can really like get down with that like boost of energy. But
for
yeah,
sure.
I see them all as being so valuable.
Mm,
Like the waning and dark moon has really cultivated a special place in my heart for just like release and letting go and making space. But yeah, I wish I had a better answer for that question, because I
No,
love them all so much.
no, that's fantastic. Well, I mean, and that just shows, just to, all of our listeners and, that the moon is really, she's really something absolutely special in every single phase of her life. And let me stop right there because I'm guided to say, as women, we
Mhm.
are so beautiful and magical and amazing in every single phase of our life. And so the moon is, I love her very, very much as well. Um, when you, I'm on this mission personally to help women, well, not to help, let me rephrase this. I am on this mission to encourage a shift in the description of periods that women make, such as Shark Week or Hell Week or all of these things. Um, how do you feel about the magic of menstruation?
Yeah, I love my period. I love my period. A huge, actually, I always credit me doing this work to like spending a summer living under the moon and like being in San Francisco. But
Yeah.
really, I was a nutrition coach, and I realized that like very few people wanted to pay me money to tell them that they couldn't have like cheese and ice cream. And the people who were willing to pay me money for that were women who were having really hard times with their menstrual cycle. And so what I found is most of my clients were women who wanted me to help them with their nutrition or their lifestyle so that they could have less disruptive periods.
Hmm.
And I was doing some work with a friend at the time. We were conquering painful periods and making them a part of the past.
Hmm.
And what we really found through Dr. Lisa Rankin's work, she talks about a whole health cairn and like looking at our bodies as sort of a reflection of the rest of our lives, right? So if
Yeah.
we are balanced spiritually, emotionally, financially, sexually, creatively, there's a few other ones, but there's like, I think she has like nine
Different
pieces.
pillars. Hmm.
Right. And if these are all in balance, then like your body is going to reflect that balance.
Yes.
And we're off so often, like she's basically saying, like, stop looking at symptoms and look at your freaking life. And so I have always been, since I would say since then, so that was in 2013, I guess, 2014.
Okay.
Um, I have been really aware of how this like whole living experience is affecting my menstrual cycle. And I almost think of my bleed as like a receipt of
Mm,
like everything that I have to process throughout the month. And so even when it is like more discomfort, like more uncomfortable, or if I'm in a lot of pain, although I try to like not use the word pain, because like
sure.
mentally for me, it's like better if I think of it as tension or discomfort, because
Hmm.
I have more control over that.
Yeah.
And I really just think of it as like tension with a message, right? Why am
Yeah.
I experiencing this? What's going on with my body? What didn't I process this month, or this last 6 months, right? And I will tell you that my first month as an entrepreneur, I just had an absolutely symptomless menstrual cycle, like
Mm.
no cramps, no pain. I woke up one time with like a little bit of bloating in my stomach, but I had also like eaten samosas before I went to bed. So like there's probably a chance that that had something to do with it.
Right.
But like, when I'm doing what I love, I'm
Yeah.
helping women reclaim their power, and like I feel great about the work that I'm doing, and my body is thanking me for doing it. And
Mm.
so yeah, it really, I think that I love your mission of wanting to change the dialogue around periods, because like they are what allow us to have life. Like
Yes.
periods equals life,
Yes.
and it's a quarter of our adult experience.
Yeah.
So I
And it's
think
half the
that,
population
yeah,
of the
yeah,
world,
yeah.
and could you imagine the shift and the rift in the awareness and the magic and the that would happen with just even half or a quarter of women shifted that paradigm,
And it's happening slowly, but we are coming into a deeper awareness collectively of like the
Yes.
power of the menstrual cycle. I think like the Diva Cup has like done like so much healing for women, just to be able to see their blood, like
Yes.
for so long it's just been like soaked up and put away, and like we just toss it, and like now you not only do you have an opportunity to see it, but you have an opportunity to water your plants with it, or return it to the earth. And like that, for thousands of years, that's what women were doing. Women were
Yeah.
returning their blood to the earth, and we're not doing that anymore. And even for a while, I was every single cycle returning my blood to the earth. And now that I live on the third floor, it's harder. But yeah, returning that part of yourself to the earth, right? Specifically, oh my gosh, if you're talking about painful periods, if you have painful menstrual cycles, collecting your blood and returning it to the earth, like the earth knows how to transmute that, right? So we always talk about like earthing when we're feeling anxious, allowing the earth to pull that energy out of us, transmute it, compost it, recycle it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to do the same thing for your menstrual blood. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, I'm on that same path with you as far as like empowering women to be empowered by that cycle rather than being oppressed by it like we have been for so long.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that it's now really trickling into the next generation. My daughters, they're 18 and 16, and while they still are kind of like, ugh, you know, um, uh, we express celebration and excitement, and we honor day ones in this house. Even the men honor the day ones, and realize that it has nothing to do with anything external. This is just all internal day. This is what we do. So I think it's also really important to as women, for standing and finding our power and our confidence in our cycles and in our periods, then we can really educate our men. And they want to support us, they want to help us, they want to be a part of it. It's just we haven't been able to know how to show them or tell them how, and now we can. And that's why I feel like intentional conversation and intentional dialogue is extremely important, and really helps with all sorts of relationship connecting. As I have a frog jump in my throat. um, what's your favorite part of your cycle?
Mm.
Does it shift with seasons?
It shifts with depending on when I'm bleeding with the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So when I am bleeding with the dark and the new moon, I love ovulating with the full moon. Like ovulating with the full moon is badass, and you just like feel like a freaking rock star, like, or I do at least.
Yeah.
um,
I love it.
and now, I've been bleeding with the new moon for probably like 3 or 4 years at this point, until like about 4 months ago, my cycle switched. It just like, I had like a really short cycle and then like an even shorter cycle. And then now I've just been bleeding with the, like I start bleeding just before the full moon. And I love bleeding with the full moon. Like,
Yeah.
I think that, like maybe like for me, like the key to my menstrual cycle is like tapping into that full moon energy, and like wherever I am during the full moon, just like honoring that part of my cycle deeply. And yeah, it's really interesting. It's really easy to get caught up in like the right way to bleed, right? Like, oh, you're supposed to ovulate with the full moon and bleed with the new moon and blah, blah, blah. And like, I in the beginning of my like journey with this, like with, especially with like coaching women in this area of like learning how to navigate their bodies, it's really hard to remember that like there is no right way. And
Right.
like our bodies are going to be changing, and like that is a type of divination, right? Like that's
Yes.
a type of oracle work, is like tracking your body's cycles. You know, the history of the red tent is like women in traditional societies would go into this tent while they were bleeding to do deep divination work and do deep like connecting with the divine, and like, you know, reading the stars and reading the tea leaves, right? These are all
Yeah.
things that women would do while they were bleeding, because we have such a deeper connection to that. And I think that, you know, bleeding with the full moon is pretty cool. For so long, I was used to bleeding with the dark moon and feeling so like nurturing and like protected and like just internal. But like when you bleed with the full moon, it's like full high beam, all on everything. And like, you just got to be out there. And it's
Yes.
perfect for where I am in my business right
I
now.
would, and I was just about to say that too, because for a while, for those couple 3 years or whatever, you were in that nurturing phase, right, with the white moon, and
Mm-hmm.
you were living that, embodying that, and you shifted with an intention with your career and your business and everything like that, and because you had that intention, then your cycle shifted to support you with that.
Totally.
Oh God. And the red moon is, I love bleeding, I love the red moon
Mm-hmm.
cycle. And I've been with the red moon for 2 years, and just this last cycle, I was shifted over to the new moon, and I realized that I my cycle shifted to allow me to receive a download,
Mm-hmm.
and so now my cycle is shifting back,
That's
and it's magic, isn't it? It's like I love it all. I think it's just absolutely magic, and I'm so thankful for the work that you're doing. I'm so grateful for all of the energy and the magic that you are exerting and sending out, and embodying and being, and showing up as that magic.
thank you.
Um, yeah, you're welcome. And I know we've got about 10 minutes total. So before we go into some fun questions,
Mhm.
where can everybody find you? What are you working on that is just, your passion project right now? How can people work with you? And just all about you.
Yeah. So I am mostly present on Facebook and Instagram. So on Facebook, you can find me, Lauren Lavender Love Roberts, or in my Facebook group at the Womb Tree Alchemy Sisterhood. On Instagram, it's at wombtree.alchemy. And I try to be pretty present in both of those spaces. So that's a great place to get a hold of me. You can also go to my website, wombtreealchemy.com. Right now, I'm not sure when you'll be airing this, but right now I am actually, registration is open for my moon cycle mastery course. And so I teach a 5-week course all about the moon cycles and like applying these energies to your life, and how to really make the most of each of these powerful phases. So that's open right now through September 4th. Registration's open through the 4th. And Yeah, I recently reopened my one-on-one practice as well. So I will be opening up registration or opening up spaces rather for one-on-one clients in September. I have 3 spaces available. So if you're interested in doing a 13-week program with me, that's available as well.
That is fantastic. I love it. Everybody go follow her, go enjoy the energy that is her, and just supporting another goddess rising in this existence and helping others rise in theirs as well. So, yes, I love it all. Okay, so a couple fun cheese questions. I'm all about cheese.
Me
Um,
too. Yum.
right? I know, right? Pepper jack is my favorite, along with the smoked cheddar. I know. Okay, so what was the last thing you looked up on Google?
Oh gosh. I want to say it was the keystroke for edit undo because
Okay.
because I was on a page that didn't have like that edit undo ability and it deleted a whole thing that I didn't want it to be gone.
Mm.
And it exists. It's Control Z, I believe.
Yes, it is Control Z. Absolutely. That's fantastic. Um, what spiritual text or book or audio or anything are you listening to reading right now?
Okay, so right now I have 2 that I'm reading. Many Moons is like ongoing because it's like a workbook
Okay.
for the second half of 2018. And
Okay.
then the other one I'm reading is actually pre-released Danielle Dulski. If you're not familiar with her, she's an amazing author and like I'm just happy to plug her literally everywhere in my whole life. But she is like a wild woman activist and just one of my favorite people in the world. And her new book, The Holy Wild, it's a
Oh,
heathen's Bible to living your most authentic magical life.
oh,
And so I am doing I got a pre-release for that, and I'll be doing a review once I'm done. But it's amazing, like content about just like creating your own spiritual experience in this life.
mm,
But her other book, I think I might even have it here. Um, The Woman Most Wild is her first book.
I
So
love
if you
it.
haven't read this one, oh, do it. It's the best.
I'll
Um,
definitely check my library. I'm going to go online after we get off and do that for sure. I
yes.
love anything Wild Woman.
Yeah. You will
Um,
love Danielle Dulski. Her writing will blow your mind.
Definitely. I love it. I have all these books here. I swear. I like tell me I've got 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 books right here to the side. And I'm like, okay.
I know, I'm the
You can
same
get
way.
through this.
I'm the same way.
But which one do I go for? They're all fantastic. Um, what song embodies you right now or piece of music? Like what is represents your vibrational field right now?
You know, I I was on another podcast recently, and they asked me this question, and I struggled with it as well. But right now, the Shiva Shambho mantra has been like alive in my life for like the last 3 weeks, and I cannot get it off of my mind. I've been like whistling it and like humming it, and so I've been doing a lot of mantra work almost unintentionally, which is great.
Yeah, that's
um,
fantastic.
but there's also this song by Shyla Ray called Existence. And it's all about being a powerful woman.
Mm,
And it's just really been phenomenal. And I will send you the link so that you can
yeah,
include it for the women and the people who are watching this or listening, because it's a phenomenal track
that would be
about being super
fantastic.
powerful. Yeah.
I love it. And music is the expression, it is the base of my soul and existence. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I definitely send that and we'll share that with everybody. So, Lavender. I mean, people, Lauren, I know it's Lauren, but
You can call me Lavender. I'm into it.
I just love it. That's actually everybody's favorite scent in this house besides cinnamon. So spicy lavender. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for taking time out of your day to share your wisdom and your energy and just connecting with me and all of us through the show. And I'm just excited to see where things go and how things continue to expand and grow for you. And I'm just super excited and thankful for the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you to everyone who's listening. I really appreciate you tuning in and just keep being magical.
I love it. Thanks, everybody. And I will catch you on the next one.